Yeah. Yeah. Hi. My name is Shrikant, and I'm a cybersecurity professional with around 14 years of work experience, worked in multiple domains and multiple industries. And also, I'm a freelance cybersecurity instructor from the past 4 to 5 years, where I've trained more than 400 to 500 people, including the one-on-ones and mass corporate trainings on multiple cybersecurity certifications. It can be ISA, ISACA certifications, ISA Square, and CompTIA related certifications. And I hold a couple of certifications myself, like CISA, ISO lead auditor, and a couple of certification on the risk and the governance. So this is all about me, and as per the request from Mary, I'm having this a short demo on one of the CH concept. Okay, so probably if you don't have any more questions, I can probably start it off. So any questions before we start? All right. Okay, so we'll just proceed with one short demo. So I'm sharing my screen back. Let me know if it is still visible. All right. So just give a thumbs up if it's visible. Okay, thank you. So this particular demo I'm having for the CH, one of the topic which I've taken is called as a scanning. Okay, scanning is basically how we scan for the applications or servers to identify the weakness or the vulnerability in our own system or environment. Now, the reason why we do this is because we need to find out all these vulnerabilities much before the attacker can identify it. Because once the attacker identifies, he can probe into our network, which will lead to a cyber attack. Okay. Now, this particular concept, which is one of the part of the scanning, which I'll be doing. So first, let me log in to the Kali machine. Okay, and also I've installed the Metasploitable machine, which will be our target. So this lab, I have already set it where I'll be trying lots of different scanning mechanisms from this machine. So we'll treat Kali as our attacker's machine. So always it's important that we log in as a root before we can start with any scans. So right now I have logged the root. So now let's try and scan a remote machine. So as I mentioned, I'm using my Metasploitable machine to as a target, okay, which is on the same VM where we'll be trying our scanning here. Okay, right. So let me log into here as well. Okay, so first I'm going to fetch the remote IP through IF config. So I'm just like trying to scan the IP. Okay, and the tool which I'm going to use for today's scan is called as Nmap. Okay, Nmap is basically called as a network mapper, again, which is used in order to scan and check, for example, what are the ports which are open, what services we are running, what operating system we are using, right? So these are the couple of information that we can get, which is part of the scan, which happens after the reconnaissance. Okay. So first, let me start with the first scan, which is identification of the ports. Okay. So for that, I'm using the command called as nmap-p-. So basically this command is for the port scan. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm running this scan against our target, which is this particular IP 192.168.158.129. Okay. I'm just writing down the IP here. 192.168, 158, 129. Okay, so I'm just running the scan. The Nmap scan has been initiated. So now let's see how many ports are open. And there are a couple of ports which should be closed, or which is termed as dangerous because so many reasons. And we'll see why that is open and what is the reason for it. So as you can see here, we have used the nmap -p and we have given the target, and it has scanned for 65505 ports. Means these are the total ports which it has scanned, and out of that we are seeing a couple of ports which in the open status. So here you can see the port number. Okay, TCP is a protocol, and here we can see the state, whether it is open or closed. So out of all the 65,505, only these are open and the rest are closed. Okay, and here we can see the services. Now, this is very important for any ethical hacker to know why these ports are open and what are the services which are running behind these ports. So the first one is the port 21, which is used for the file transfer protocol. Okay, FTP stands for file transfer protocol. Now, this particular protocol is basically used in order to transmit the data or the files between the network. And the service FTP is considered as dangerous because of the reason that the FTP is not using encryption. Okay, if the encryption is not used, anybody can sniff the traffic and they can see all the plain text which is traversing in our network. And example number two is a port 80, which is the HTTP port. Again, HTTP is considered as dangerous because HTTP doesn't implement SSL TLS, which is transport layer security. So if the transport layer security is not implemented, again, the problem is whatever we uh, transmit over the HTTP. Okay, so the attacker can sniff and he can see everything on the plain text. Now, these ports are should be blocked by default. Okay, so this should be part of the implicit deny. Implicit deny meaning that it should be denied by default, and it should be open only when there is a specific permission or a specific exception behind it. Okay, and similarly we can see there is a remote shell open 514, which the attacker can get the remote access, and we can see the SMTP telnet. Telnet again is to get a remote session to our target. Okay, so these are the couple of ports which we need to analyze and see whether it can be closed or not. Okay, now as I mentioned, the ports which are not meant to be open, it should be closed. Okay, so where do we need to close it? We need to close it in the firewall. Okay, so firewall, I'll just take you through a very simple firewall blocking rules. Okay, I'm going to the firewall, Microsoft Windows Defender. Okay, and here I can set any rules in order to block or in order to open. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to the inbound rules, where we can see all the traffic which is incoming, okay, to my host machine. So the action here you can see it is allowed, okay, but I don't want the port 80 traffic should come inside my network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new rule. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to like just select the port, because in our nmap scan we can see port 80 is basically what we don't want to have enabled in our network or in our host. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to block the particular port. Okay, so I'm just clicking on the port and I'm clicking next. So here we need to specify which port exactly we need to close. So for example, we have taken port 80 as our example to block. So I'm blocking port 80. Okay, and we need to basically block the connection. Okay, so this applies to all the domains, private networks, and public networks. Next, I'm just like giving the reference like nmap scan, and I'm going to just type as port 80. And here we can give any optional description, like why exactly we are blocking port 80. Okay, and I'm going to click on finish. So here, if I go back, you can see the new rule has been created. And here you can see the rule has been implemented and the action we are going to take is block. Means the understanding is before we started this demo or before we started the scan, port 80 was actually open. So port 80 traffic um, by the security principles is dangerous, as I mentioned, which should be on an implicit deny. Now, how can we know that? Okay, unless and until we scan, we will not be knowing. Okay, either the internal security team or the vulnerability scanning or the penetration testing team will not know what are the impacted host or servers or whatever the target is, what services are running and what ports are enabled. So we don't know. So that's the purpose we do the scan in order to identify the loophole. And once we identify the loophole, we need to immediately block it. Okay, so I just showed a very simple demo of how we do a port scan and how that particular port should get blocked so that the vulnerability doesn't exist anymore. And that's how we can keep our internal machines or internal servers safe from any external attacks. Okay, and along with this, we have lots of different variants of scan. As I mentioned, we can do a service detection, or we can run aggressive scan, which is going to probe into each of these services. Okay, for to find out the exact version. Okay, and what versions are vulnerable. So that is the intensive part of scanning. Okay, so with this, I'm just going to stop here with a simple in-map scan. Um, I hope that you got a little bit of understanding of what is